I'm Ed Grondelski, Chair of the Town Council. I'll call this a special Town Council meeting to order. For roll call purposes, all council members are here except John Cicilline, who has been excused. Item 3, interviews. We have none. Item 4, citizen statements and petitions, but they have to be with respect to the business on tonight's agenda. Any citizen statements or petitions? Okay, none. Old business, none. New business, meeting with Economic Development Commission and discussion related to development opportunities. Come on board.
So we're gonna go home in 5 minutes, okay? No, we want a little more, we need a little more discussion than that.
You know, he is the unofficial mayor of Clinton.
Never happened. I wanna go home for dinner, you know? We started. I guess most know me. I'm Bill Chance. I'm EDC chairman.
And I'm Todd Cook, the vice chair.
Two of our members couldn't make it. One had a machine go down and he has to use it tomorrow, so he apologized. He might come in a little bit later. Hopefully we're not here too long. And Mark Tilling went to our meeting but was not feeling well, so he's not here.
So, welcome. Glad you're here.
Welcome, glad you're here. I know it's kind of tough in your position with the sewer plant and its situation, so I think that's the crux of whatever's going on or not going on. But we'd like to have your comments, and I'll give you the floor.
I'm more happy that Todd talk first.
All right, yeah, so we do have some concerns, obviously, about the wastewater, because that is one of the more important things for what we're trying to do and what economic development's about. A lot of that has to do with devaluation of properties right now, or businesses in general. So without being able to have that capacity to grow, there are businesses that are unable to either come to the town or they're unable to expand, and so they have to go elsewhere. And that causes, economic challenges for our town as well. So that's probably one of the bigger concerns that we have with it. So it's, it's a serious problem. I mean, we've had quite a few companies that want to come here that can't, or companies that are actually here that are trying to grow or expand that cannot, and they have to go elsewhere. So those are the biggest things that, we see with that right now.
No, I agree. The sewer plant, it's slow. DEP's finally approved a consultant, so it's starting to move along. But again, the time frame when it's going to happen, it's, even if some prospective, people come in, businesses come in, when is it going to be done? That's an unknown. So yeah, it's a very difficult situation and people want to keep the taxes down, but what are you going to do if we can't have any development? Or whatever they have, they can't increase capacity. Even if they had increase in the facilities they have and they need more sewer capacity, that's not going to work. So
Ultimately, that obviously impacts the tax base, right?
yes, well, even with the last reval, the residential side took the biggest brunt of the hit. Mm-hmm. And everybody's saying, well, okay, you keep telling us, well, the industrial and commercial base will work, and then the sewer issue is here. So whatever we can do, like I say, if we can get monies, anytime you can see the federal reps or the state reps or the governor or whatever, we got to talk to them and say, yeah, we need some help. If you can give us some grant money, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Tony, go ahead.
Do you have a list of, do you know how many businesses that you're saying some have actually left? Do you keep a kind of a running tab of what that is, and others that say they want to expand?
We have a list that we've given to our Wright Pierce consultant so that they know. Some of it is non-disclosure.
Yep,
You know,
that
it's
makes sense.
business
Yep.
arrangements, but we have a tax value, we have an employee value, and then we have, there's a formula for every employee that we lose. They usually retain 40% of their income within the community. They do a local spend. We've pushed it out that far as well.
When we're looking to move forward and we're looking for funding, does that help us at all, Brian, with the state? When you know these numbers, is this what we use? Do we build a case and say this is where we're at? Where these are desperate times for us?
Absolutely, it's something that we're keeping track of. I think it's going to help us explain the need for the plant expansion when we present that later this year. Once Wright Pierce finishes the planning phase of the study that they're doing right now, it'll help us in grant requests. It helps us in negotiations with Brooklyn as far as the interconnection goes, because they don't believe that we have a moratorium problem, right? So they're critical of us, and so that is helpful all around. The WPCA did vote on the interim agreement with Frito at their last meeting a couple weeks ago. So we do have a block of allocation that can be used to relax the moratorium. There's a draft resolution out there that I shared with you that the WPCA will take up at their next meeting to look at, you know, how are we going to use this, right? Because we're going to need to manage that allocation for the next few years so that we don't find ourselves back in a moratorium situation. We're not going to be able to go back to Frito again and ask them to give up more, right? So we have to use this wisely. So we're looking at creating categories for high density housing, category for commercial industrial growth, some smaller categories for discrete residential, single family houses that are standalone accessory use apartments, you know, small businesses, retail storefront type stuff that would be, you know, approved rather easily. But that's something the WPCA still has to work through and vote on, which I hope they'll do at their next meeting.
And how long was Frito? What was the time? Was there a time frame?
It's 2 years with 2 one-year extensions.
So where do we stand with Brooklyn?
We're in negotiations with Brooklyn, and you know, we've met twice with their first selectman in WPCA, and they, I mean, we're outside of executive session here. I'll just say that they were anxious to start negotiations, and after the first couple of meetings, they seemed to not want to continue negotiations earnestly, but they're interested in getting the most out of the agreement that they have.
They want some. They want something, but they don't want to pay for it.
So are they willing to share with you? I got it on. Are they willing to share with you the expansion that they would like to see for the sewer plant in flow?
We've been impressing upon them for months now that they need to give us a number for future flow that they would like built into that expansion.
And they haven't given it yet.
No.
So, but it's hurting them too because they can't expand.
Look, I don't want to speak for them in public. I have meetings with them in private and try to press them on what do you need and what do you want to see for the next 20 years, and go around and say, you know, we might not be expanding the plant again, ever. And so this is your shot. Give us a number.
So once they exceed they haven't exceeded their permitted flow?
They've not violated their contract. They have been over their flow at times, and it causes us a problem when that happens. But The way that their contract is worded right now, when those events have occurred, is not technically a contract violation.
So in other words, you can exceed it, but there's no penalty.
That's correct.
Thank you.
We have several developments that have been planned for many, many, many years that are taking a flow. That they're taking up flow, and it's been a long time. I know there was a lawsuit, I don't know if it was in Connecticut, that the developer sued to get flow from a development that hadn't been built for, I don't know, a long time.
Says we've identified in our system is that our ordinance on sewer connections doesn't allow us to impose a maximum time frame. So it's something we need to look at revising. And we have issued some approvals recently that have a clock on them, but we may not be entirely on solid ground to do that. I think the community you're referring to was East Lyme. They've been trying, there's been a developer down there for years trying to develop some housing, and the town maintains a moratorium to prevent that from happening.
I think
There might be in others as well, but that's one that is in the news from time to time.
I think this actually had to be a development that wasn't being built where they were holding the flow. But we also have the state where they, with COVID, they went back to what, like 2011 or 2012, giving them extensions for, I don't know, 2030 or something, some ridiculous, 2035, like a.
It was 17 years. They extended active permits if they had approvals for 17 years on some of those sites.
Yeah, and it went back to like 2011.
Yeah.
Is there any entities that, I'm sure they would like to have the sewer, but would they go with an alternate on a septic system, like the warehouses are going on septic systems, and then with the hope that down the road they can tie into our sewer? But is there anybody that would want to put in a septic system and still come here?
In most of the situations, so we're talking about brownfield redevelopment, so they need assurances that they connect to water and sewer. Could they put septic on those systems? They're probably too close to the waterways for them to be permitted. I think that would be an issue. Some of them, there's a shopping plaza with a pad, an undeveloped pad, and I'm arm wrestling over 2 employee bathrooms for a $15 million project. They can't put their own septic in. Right. So there's those scenarios, but also there's retail spaces and they want to do a change of use for, say, a restaurant. That's a change of flow. It's not permitted. So it's a case by case. I can't really give you a blanket answer. I mean, people have money to spend and they want to develop here. It's just the wastewater has become prohibitive.
That's exactly it. With if we had the sewer, there'd be no question, okay, they can come. Now we're really limiting them, and I don't know how we can expedite it.
At this point, it's retention. It's not even a matter of attracting new businesses. It's retaining the ones that we have that have been great stakeholders, invested here. Now they want to expand here, and we have to hit pause. That's the challenge. So we're seeing it from all sides.
Have any of these businesses offered to help contribute to increased sewer flow? Like, I know some other businesses from an electrical standpoint, if they are requiring more power than the grid in the area supports, sometimes what happens is Eversource says that, hey, if you want that much power, we have to upgrade this much of the grid. You need to pay a portion of it to help us do that. Is anything like that being presented?
Those conversations have happened, but the extent of the investment, I don't know what the magic number is. I'm not even going to say. It wouldn't be a conversation starter to get the plant going.
a conversation like that more recently, where one of the developers that's in front of planning and zoning right now offered a substantial sum of money to do some I&I work. And at the time, the requirements on the other end, we couldn't guarantee the outcome that they wanted. But with the moratorium being lifted, we could have more flexibility to take those contributions if they're still interested in tying into the sewer system.
I just feel like it's a good place to start if we can get, we're not trying to hit the taxpayers for it, and we have someone that's willing to help us,
But it seems like if someone wants to put any sewer-type infrastructure in, it's either going to be approved by the health department or through DEEP, and that's a tough permit to modify. It's nice when you can just put it down the pipe and it comes over here and we can take care of it. But for someone to try to pre-treat, it's a permit in itself. It would be nice, but that's a long time frame too.
So I'm just trying to look at it from a numbers figure. Say you got A, B, and C want to invest into our infrastructure for it. So the total cost is, let's just say it's $10 million, and A, B, and C are willing to contribute 5 of it. Now we're only looking at getting 5 more from either grants or internally to reach that goal. That's all I'm trying to push for, a numbers game. Is that even something possible?
No, I think we're willing to, and we will have to, going forward with the limited allocation we have with potentially larger users that want to buy into the sewer system and take up the capacity that Frito is freeing up. We're going to have to ask those larger users to make contributions just like that, and to do some I&I work to free up some of the capacity that they were taking. The issue with the one that we turned down recently in the fall was that there were going to be contractual guarantees in exchange for the money that they could contribute, and that it wouldn't cause us a problem. And at the time, we couldn't say yes to that. We can revisit that now because we know where Frito's going, right?
So, the 7% that they're supposedly going to ask for an increase in income, where are they going to spend it?
Most of the increase is due to capital improvements. It's a $400,000 increase for capital.
But none of that is into the centrifuge or anything, so those holding tanks can accommodate more?
There's about I think there's 10 different capital projects in there. I do believe there was some centrifuge work included, but unfortunately, I don't have the list in front of me, and I can't speak to all of them off the top of my head.
But that could increase a certain amount of capacity if that was done.
I don't know that those projects would increase the capacity substantially.
That's the way I understood it. Thank you.
Anyone else have any?
Well, all right, I don't know why I'm, is it, oh, shoot. So what I was at Economic Development, and I know Jill doesn't like, because she's like me, I hate people that give me kudos for stuff that I do, but she has done so much yeoman work for our brownfield sites in town. I think, if you gave a little bit of an update about some of those mill sites, and she's just, if she hits a wall and she finds a way around it or climbs over it or punches a hole through it, but she's making progress on a lot of the remediations. So, I mean, I think that would be really helpful. Don't bring up Prim site because that's a private one, and that's a hopeless case. But we're going to talk about the positive tonight.
I'll be ready for Brim when he's ready to sell. It is actively for sale, and we will assist with the strategy. But taking that one off, I'll just work around the town. So Blueville Mill, We're still active under the EPA multipurpose grant there. We just got permission on May 11th to re-engage on that site and use EPA funding to finish up testing, environmental testing, areas of concern that were not part of the fire. So the emergency remediation was a different grant program. They came in, they took care of the rubble pile, they did the testing. They had to close out that grant so we could re-engage in the AOCs. And it's more petroleum, trying to figure out, where the tanks were, how much of the leakage was, did it leave off-site? We don't believe it left off-site, but we want to make sure that in an abundance of caution that we address that issue. They'll test the canal, and I think there was a dumpster area. So you can expect activity over there starting May 11th. Bailey Hill, same thing. As of March 1, there's been the sunsetting of a transfer act on the operations on that particular site. So we had to wait again and give law days for that property owner of record to say, no, you can't go on to our property. But in order for them to do that, they had to pay their back taxes. So those law dates are up. So we will re-engage in that remediation testing. EPA gave us permission to move the rubble pile, not remove it from the site, but to move it so that we know what's underneath the pile. They did a structural analysis on the existing mill site and did some test pits in the fall. So once again, their law days are up on May 11th, so you'll see more activity on that site. 185 Broad Street School, we had that entered into the multipurpose grant, at which time we did testing for hazardous building material. And there is lead paint around the windows. We did subsurface testing around the perimeter of the building to see, how far deep it went. And it has not gone more than 4 feet around the building. No, excuse me. So at this time, at that point, EPA said, you own the building, you were a creator of that hazardous waste, even though that was standard building material. So under the EPA program, we couldn't move forward. So at that time, we pivoted and went into a shared application with NECOG. I didn't want to do a competing application in the same district, so we partnered, wrote the grant to do a phase 2, so that they're going to do further testing on asbestos, whatever remaining asbestos in the building. I know over the course of 40 years, asbestos has been removed, but there's like the lab desks and things like that that are still in the building. They're not hazardous to the occupants of the building, but once you start disrupting it, it could become hazardous. So we're going to wait until that building is vacated before any remediation happens. So that's going out to RFP in May. So at the end of that test cycle, we'll have it's called a remediation action plan. We've already had SHPO, the State Historic Office of Preservation, out there to look at the site. They have strong feelings about how things are done on historic buildings, which sometimes can escalate costs. So at that point, we'll have the remediation action plan. But because this is the state, we did this Connecticut brownfields, you folks authorized that application. The state, because we own the building, we own the problem, we would not be eligible for grant money as it sits, because we were considered the creator under that program. So at that time, we would have to make a decision, do we get involved with a land bank? And they can go for the application and have an agreement for them to do the remediation. There's quite a significant whisper number of the cost to that remediation, but we'll know more in a couple months what that would be. And then the end use of the building, there is a restrictive covenant on the site. It was given to the town for education purposes, but we can show that we don't have a use for that building just based on the ADA and the use of the gym. There's not an appropriate way to, allow egress. So that'll be a decision for the council, or if you want to flip it to the EDC to help navigate a pathway for RFPs. I think the goal ultimately was to get it back into, on the grand list, and see what the highest, best use of that building would be. Then we can move around to the former wastewater treatment plant. Some folks don't even know we have it. It was a decommissioned plant. I had that enrolled in the EPA multipurpose grant. We got as far as a phase 1. And once again, because we purchased the building, we own the building, and then we willingly gave a lease to Hutchinson, we could be a generator of that contamination. So they bumped me out of that program. So once again, we pivoted with the support of the town council, and we went for a community investment fund grant, which a portion of that you can use for assessments. So we'll be doing a phase 2 assessment on that and community planning as to what we should do with that site, and that lower end where the ball fields are. I think that's it for brownfields.
Those brownfields, the old mills that you're trying to clean up, they were hooked to the sewer, right?
Correct.
And water.
I know Blueville Mill. They have a sewer pipe to it.
What about Bailey Hill and?
It's in the proximity. I'm not sure what the hookups look like.
And so we can't do anything until the total cleanup for the brownfields before it can be sold?
So that would be a decision for the council to make. Right now, we have absentee owners. We can go as far as total assessment and a remediation action plan. Unless we own the property, we cannot go in and physically remediate it. But you could use a vessel or a tool like a land bank, and they can utilize remediation dollars. We could work together in a joint application. But they're privately owned, so there would either be a deed in lieu of foreclosure or foreclosure process. I think that's how that would have to work. But the Blueville Mill still has 6 condos tethered to the land, so that would be something that you would have to work out.
One opportunity for finding someone to assist us with the cleanup when we're ready would be to issue a request for proposals for the sale of the tax liens that are associated with the back taxes on those 2 mills. And we've talked to a couple people that would be interested in doing that. We just need to progress a little bit more in terms of the environmental assessment so we can put a comprehensive package together and answer as many questions as possible to get the most out of those 2 sites.
Now, would that be for housing, or would that be for industrial again?
It would probably likely be higher density housing. I don't think you're going to get an industrial user that's going to, I mean, it's possible, but it's more likely that somebody's going to want to put higher density housing there to mint the income they need to justify the cost of the environmental cleanup and make it worth their while.
Now, what about Dayville? Any changes there?
Which one? It's for sale. Offers have been brought to the table. We will utilize any economic development tools, such as support with community investment grant partnership to remediate it, but it's really under private ownership. There's been 3 offers that I know of on the table.
But it's still under brownfields, isn't it?
It is a brownfield site.
So they'd buy it even under those conditions?
They can enter into a program, it's called BBR, BBP. Before you purchase something, you can enter into a program it's called a prospective buyer, and you would enter into that program.
And then who is responsible for finish cleaning it up then?
Well, Prim has acknowledged that they would, they still test on the site, and Can't say any more than that.
Okay. And that
They're
one,
willing to be part of the solution.
and that one's hooked to sewer and water.
It runs by, yes, it runs by. I don't know what is left for the hookups. Everything is in a pile of
But
rubble.
it's close
Yeah,
enough.
it's close enough. It's in the vicinity, both for water and sewer.
Thank you.
And the really cool part is the Brickyard.
Yeah, so that's been a long process. So we have a bidder. We're expecting to award a contract later this week, and they can start construction once we get the check off from the DECD. But it looks like it's moving forward, and should be done completed in one construction season.
Idea what it's gonna cost? You already had it.
So the base bid was $913,000, or $913,000. Our DECD grant was $1 million. We utilized $130,000 for the borough ARPA funds. We have $266,000 for the sculptures that are under construction. We got permission to have those done because we got caught up in the tariffs, the price escalation, and it would have broke our budget. So DECD gave us permission to take that out as a single source for art construction. So we're fully funded for what we want to do.
How many parking spaces are we losing?
It's 15.
So does it go in the back corner where the old garage was?
So that's part two. It's called the Art Park. We will be able to fund plantings, but there was a separate, there's an addendum, like if you dream big, right? And if you find other funding sources. So we will not be putting the lights or infrastructure down there or another sculpture at this time, but it'll definitely be turned into a parklet. So really just the closer to the main street, activating that space. It'll have nice canopy lighting, more plantings, sidewalk improvements, Wi-Fi, ADA. It'll be conducive to hold events in the downtown.
So enough lighting so we shouldn't have any vandalism?
Correct.
All right.
I wish we could say, or Brian could say, oh, we just got something, the sewer is gonna be flowing again, but, that would make this discussion a lot better, but.
Flowing again, we just need to be, I forgot about the delay, sorry. We just need to be measured about how we
Yeah.
give away this small block, and to Adam's point, the people, potentially large users that have capacity to make contributions to the system to offset what they're going to use are going to be asked to do so.
Well, we thank you for coming, and, we're gonna try to help you to do more work. But it may be delayed a little bit.
Chairman,
I'm chairman for quite a year, yeah.
Chairman of the Lions.
Oh, yeah. Time cousin.
Go for 4.
Hey, you gotta watch out for Bill, he's always trying to give away our money.
Condo, yeah, but then you're condo president. And they're not here, they won't be you as a president.
So moving on, we have no executive session, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? We are adjourned.